And when you call my name, I won't be far away. No matter where you go, you'll never be alone. Be alone, be alone. No, you'll never be alone, be alone.
It all started one night, an evening just like any other, except that there was a giant shimmering mare of darkness looming above a crowded room full of cowering equines.
Oh, my beloved subjects,
Nightmare Moon cooed. She stood menacingly upon a balcony before the town hall crowd.
it's been so long since I've seen your precious little sun-loving faces.
Rainbow Dash rose to the occasion.
What did you do with our princess?
Snarling, she darted toward the evil alicorn like a courageous blue bullet. She was yanked back in place by a farm mare gripping her prismatic tail with a pair of iron-wrought jaws.
Whoa there, Nelly.
Applejack exclaimed through clenched teeth, and Rainbow Dash was, frustratingly, anchored in place. It continued not long after, when a lavender pony rummaged through a library, as lavender ponies are wont to do.
Elements, elements, elements!
Twilight Sparkle stammered as she tossed one tome after another into a growing dusty pile.
Ugh! How can I stop Nightmare Moon without the elements of harmony?
Just then, Rainbow Dash flew into the unicorn's face, frowning intimidatingly while her voice cracked.
And just what are the elements of harmony?
She flew forward with a threatening hiss, shoving Twilight further and further toward the wall of the treehouse.
And how do you know about Nightmare Moon, huh? Are you a spy?
Her ruby eyes narrowed like dagger points.
Whoa there, Nelly.
Applejack had her by the tail. With one firm pull of her teeth, she dragged the Pegasus away from Twilight, spat out Rainbow's colourful hairs, and drawled,
Simmer down, Sally. She ain't no spy.
The rest of Applejack's close friends trotted into the library as she faced the pensive unicorn.
But she sure knows what's going on.
And, sighing, Rainbow Dash flicked her tail hair straight. She hovered still, patient. It happened again, this time in broad daylight, as Rainbow Dash smiled her way out of a foggy daydream.
The ponies would go wild!
She chirped, her ruby eyes sparkling in the sunlight over Sweet Apple Acres.
The Wonderbolts would insist that my signature moves be incorporated into their routine, and then welcome me as their newest member.
Grinning with bright blue dimples, she floated upwards toward her new friend.
Don't you see, Twilight? This could be my one chance to show off my stuff.
She beamed in Twilight's face.
You've gotta pick me.
Before Twilight could respond, Rainbow Dash was pulled backwards by a Herculean grip, which turned out to be Applejack's toothy frown, clamped over the spectral end of her tail.
Hold on just one pony frickin' minute here.
Applejack lisped through the fruit-coloured strands. She spat the tail out, and sneered in Rainbow's surprised face.
I asked for that ticket first.
And Rainbow Dash stood her ground, ready to retort. Then, on yet another occasion, as several ponies began their arduous ascent toward a smouldering mountain peak, Rainbow Dash soared ahead of the group with a strong tailwind.
I'm gonna fly up there and check it out,
she bravely declared. She flapped her wings heavily, but she wasn't gaining any altitude. The reason for this became clear as she was snapped back toward the source of a countrified accent.
Hold on now.
Applejack said, as Rainbow Dash glared at her.
I think we should all go up together.
She tilted the brim of her hat and added,
Safety in numbers and all.
And Rainbow let out the biggest groan of her life, folding her forelimbs and glaring off into space as her tail drooped limply beneath her, like a threadbare pendulum. Finally, on a bright, dewy morning, as the sunlight glinted off the golden delicious apples of Sweet Apple Acres,
Why, howdy there, Fluttershy.
Applejack exclaimed, setting down a pitchfork beside a wagon full of hay. She tilted her hat back and grinned at her friend as she softly trotted up.
What brings you here so early?
I fixed Winona's leash like you asked me to.
Fluttershy said with a bashful smile.
Shucks, so soon? You didn't have to hurry or nothing, girl.
Oh, but I didn't have much else I was doing.
Fluttershy reached back into a pink saddlebag on her side and pulled out the round canvas item in question.
All it took was sewing on an extra bit to the end. My hooves are a bit rusty, so I had Angel help me. His paws are tiny enough to get the job done.
Well, a mighty heap of thanks to both you and Angel Rabbit.
Bunny.
Whatever. Varmint's a varmint.
Applejack muttered. At the potential receiving end of a stare, she gulped and said,
What a helpful little critter you got in that cottage of yours.
She took the collar from Fluttershy and examined it up close.
Well, I'll be. That's a mighty fine job. Winona's gonna love this. It was a bit too tight beforehand. All her barks came out too high-pitched, if you know what I mean.
Fluttershy giggled lightly and smiled.
Well, I'm just glad to help.
She squinted her eyes at the barn behind Applejack.
Say, where's all your apple baskets? I thought you had some fruit to gather this afternoon.
Applejack sighed, her head tilting toward the rough soil below them.
Reckon I did. However, something's come up.
What is it?
A voice cracked, and suddenly Rainbow Dash was landing between them with a flash of blue feathers.
You donating all the wicker to Town Hall? Don't tell me it's burning mare already.
Fluttershy jumped back, her dainty chest rising and falling.
Oh, Rainbow! You scared me!
Applejack frowned at Rainbow.
Don't y'all know it's rude to be dropping in with no announcing whatsoever?
Didn't you see the big glowy thing over the east horizon?
You mean the sun?
There's my announcement.
Rainbow Dash did a backflip, landed, and breathed the crisp morning air.
Oh, yeah! The day is mine. You boring ponies are just living in it.
Applejack rolled her emerald eyes.
Story of my cotton-picking life.
So, what happened to your baskets, AJ? For real.
Oh, it's not that important, really.
Applejack said, this time with a nervous titter.
I just,
She fanned herself with her hat.
I moved them. Yeah, I felt they were taking up too much room in the barn.
But Applejack,
Fluttershy exclaimed, blinking wide.
I saw them here just yesterday when I came to pick up Winona's leash. Do you mean to tell us you moved all of them on your lonesome overnight? You must not have gotten any sleep.
Applejack gulped.
Well, you see, I had help, and,
Wait a sec.
Rainbow Dash raised her right wing like a forelimb to hold the conversation. With suspicious, squinting eyes, she spied the dirt below them. Several hoof tracks spiraled in the soil, leading to and from the barn.
These hoof prints are leading towards the west field.
She raised an eyebrow in Applejack's direction.
You don't have any apple orchards in the west field. Why would you and your family be carrying the baskets there?
because we were getting them washed up. Yep, dirty baskets are the worst.
Rainbow Dash glared.
But your well is closer to the east field.
Applejack bit her lip.
Applejack,
What?
Rainbow Dash leaned forward.
it's that family from Everrun Farm, isn't it?
Applejack backed up, nervous.
I wouldn't know anything about.
They're stealing your stuff again, aren't they?
The ire in Rainbow Dash's heaving figure rose and rose with each epiphanous sentence she spouted.
And right after all that horse hockey they said about you and Granny Smith ruining their irrigation. Ugh!
She stomped her hooves angrily.
It's not enough that they're compulsive liars, but they gotta steal your stuff now too?
Now, Rainbow Dash.
Why didn't you tell us all about this sooner?
Applejack stomped her hoof in return.
'Cause I didn't want to make a fuss. That's why.
She frowned.
The Everrun family is just confused is all.
Confused?
Rainbow Dash spat.
AJ, they're stealing your apple baskets. That's like your lifeblood and stuff.
That's very mean of them.
Fluttershy softly added, trembling.
If you at least told Twilight, maybe she could get them to stay away for good. She knows the princess after all.
No!
Applejack blurted, forcing Fluttershy to gasp.
That's exactly the kind of stuff I didn't want to get involved. We country ponies are already taking care of this. Big Mac and Granny went to the Everrunners to talk it over all civil-like. We don't need to blow this up to smithereens any more than it's already fixin' to.
So what?
Rainbow Dash grunted.
Those punks will just walk all over you and come back next week to steal something even more valuable. Ugh, civil my eye.
She spun around and spread her wings with a devilish smirk.
It's about time some pony taught them a lesson.
No, Rainbow.
Let's see them steal apple baskets with their hooves shoved down their throats.
With a rocketing noise, Rainbow Dash flew westward. And Applejack jumped.
I said no.
Her teeth clamped over Rainbow's tail. And Rainbow kept flying. The one thing that broke the moment was a grand, sickening pop that resonated across the orchards like a gunshot. The shriek from Fluttershy was cut off by a pair of yellow hooves slapping over her muzzle. Her wide eyes stared up at Rainbow Dash in disbelief. Was all she could horrifically utter.
What?
Rainbow Dash blinked innocently, hovering in mid-air. She glanced back over her shoulder, then down at empty space. Applejack's eyes crossed, following the spectral strands in her mouth, their falling length. Finally, the opposite end of the tail, as it fell unceremoniously toward the uneven dirt below. What followed next were 5 lengthy seconds of silence, each breath of which was occupied with numb and dumb stares. Then all 3 broke into a cacophonous fit of hysterical noise. Applejack spat her end out and backed away from the tail like it was a coral snake.
What in tarnation?
Oh, goodness!
Applejack!
How in the hay is that even possible?
AJ, what did you do?
But it's never done that before.
Well, you've never been a huge flippin' idiot before.
Hey, you were about to go murder my neighbors.
I was not. I was just going to punch them. Softly.
Never mind that. How in the name of apples and oranges did this happen?
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
Fluttershy, jeez.
Rainbow Dash frowned down at her.
Stop being such a...
Her eyes rolled back in her head as her cracking voice let out one lasting squeak.
Wuss.
With a sound akin to a collapsing sack of potatoes, Rainbow Dash fell hard on the ground, her legs sticking up like an adorable blue cockroach.
Land sakes!
Applejack's hat fell off.
Rainbow Dash!
Fluttershy rushed over, crouching at her side and putting her ear against the stiff Pegasus's chest.
Oh no! Her pulse is so weak!
She launched a frown at Applejack.
Did you really have to pull so hard?
Look, I'm sorry. If I had known she would have fallen apart so dag-blamed easily, her mama should have slapped a fragile stamp on her keister the day she first fell out of her sky cradle.
This isn't funny, Applejack!
Fluttershy stammered, close to tears.
She needs help! We need to get her inside!
What? Inside? What in blazes for?
Can't you feel it? It's sweltering out here. We need to get her somewhere that's cool.
Fine.
Applejack rushed over.
Help me heave her onto my backside.
Fluttershy shoved in futility against Rainbow with her skull. Her feeble hooves made scraping motions against the pliable earth.
Oh, for the love of Alt, allow me.
Applejack hoisted the tailless Rainbow limply over her spine.
Now don't y'all so much as sneeze on her, or else her wings might fly off and hit a cat.
Applejack!
I'm a gittin'.
With a scrambling Fluttershy in tow, Applejack carried the dead weight of awesomeness into her farmhouse. A lone rope of multicolored hairs was left to flutter in the wind behind them like a fallen flag.
Where are we headed?
Fluttershy breathlessly stammered as she clambered up the stairs behind Applejack.
Her to my room.
Applejack sweated and grunted.
We could have put her on the couch downstairs.
I got a nice window above my bed for a breeze to come through. That's what all this is about, right?
Yes, the more comfortable we can make her, the better.
Reckon she'd like being cooler, even if it was beyond the grave.
Don't say that!
Well, what do you want me to say? My head's still got a Charlie horse from what just happened.
With a guttural sound, Applejack headbutted the door to her room open. She took 2 mighty strides and unceremoniously dropped Rainbow onto the mattress like a fuzzy suitcase.
Whew! Easy on the cloud biscuits, girl.
Let me take a look at her.
Fluttershy rushed over to stretch Rainbow Dash evenly on her backside, while Applejack flung the window wide open. Rainbow's chest meekly rose and fell.
Oh, it's worse than I thought.
Fluttershy whimpered.
She could be suffering blood loss, maybe even brain damage.
She sniffled as her eyes began watering.
She might become our most loyal vegetable.
Celestia forbid.
Something's gotta be done.
You betcha.
Applejack swiveled around and made to gallop out of the room.
I'll go fetch Nurse Redheart.
No!
Applejack screeched to a stop.
No!
Rainbow Dash may not last long enough for Redheart to save her.
Fluttershy gulped.
She's so short of air. She needs pony CPR.
Pony CPR?
Yes, pony cardio pony recitation.
Fluttershy blinked, then glanced down at her squirming hooves.
Though, now that I think about it, that is rather redundant.
Fluttershy.
What?
You sure about this?
Absolutely.
Then do it.
Oh no.
Fluttershy's ears drooped as she backed into a corner.
I can't.
Applejack stomped toward her.
And why not?
Because my lungs are too weak.
Fluttershy bit her lip, sniffled, and looked down at Rainbow Dash.
If she was one of my little mice or bunny rabbits, I just might be able to. But Rainbow Dash's lungs are some of the strongest, most durable in all of Equestria. She needs a pony who's strong, a pony who's resilient, a pony who's tough.
Like who?
Applejack asked. She groaned long and hard.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
Please, Applejack.
There's got to be some pony else.
Rainbow Dash might die.
She wasn't pulling that much of her weight around while she was alive.
You were the one that yanked her tail off.
Fluttershy said, bravely frowning.
Isn't it the least you can do? After all, how is Rainbow Dash ever going to fly again without good tail balance?
Fine.
Applejack groaned, trotting towards the bed.
Just don't give me the stare or nothing.
She gulped.
How do I do this again? Just like in them health brochures?
First, you must get on top of Rainbow Dash.
Applejack stared into space.
Applejack!
Right. Okay.
Applejack crawled onto the bed. She crossed her hooves over Rainbow Dash's middle.
Right. Hereabouts?
Higher.
Up. I knew that.
And follow me.
Fluttershy squatted down beside the bed, opened Rainbow's mouth, and bobbed her own shoulders with an undulating charade.
1,000, 2,000.
3 1,000. 4 1,000.
Applejack followed Fluttershy's beat.
Breathe.
Fluttershy gestured toward Rainbow Dash's mouth. Applejack's face was twisted, her one eye squinted open.
Breathe,
Breathe, Applejack! Breathe!
Right. We're breathing.
Applejack tossed her head down, crossed lips with Rainbow Dash's, and exhaled for all she was worth. Hoisting herself back up, she gnashed her teeth and repeated the motion.
1 1,000. 2 1,000. 3 1,000.
Yes!
Fluttershy squeaked, her wings twitching.
Just like that. Pretend you're a mommy bird gently feeding her young.
Shut up! 4 1,000. Breathe.
Applejack bent over and clamped her lips over Rainbow's again. After exhaling, she sat back up.
But this is no use.
Have patience.
Buck patience.
Applejack straddled Rainbow's thighs.
I got to pound her harder, is what?
She slapped the Pegasus's chest this time, causing the whole bed to squeak and rattle.
1,000, 2,000, 3,000.
Rainbow Dash's limp ears flopped back and forth. A thin river of drool came out the corner of her mouth. That is, until Applejack's exhaling mouth came over her jawline once again.
And breathe.
Rainbow's torso expanded as Applejack shot breath into her, clamping her jaw down like a lion might snap a gazelle's neck. Fluttershy watched pensively, rubbing her hooves together. Tiny whimpering sounds came out of her golden lips. Suddenly, unbeknownst to the farm mare, Rainbow's eyelids started fluttering. A single tear fell down Fluttershy's face as she beamed with joy. At that point, however, Applejack was sitting up again.
Down my farm, will ya? Not on my watch, you featherbrain. 1,000, 2,000.
Rainbow Dash?
Rainbow Dash's ruby eyes flashed open. Her jaw hung agape, and her twitching gaze danced left and right. She saw the room, the soft bed she was in, the sweaty orange pony who was bouncing right on top of her, her blonde mane tousling through the ethereal afternoon glow.
3,000, 4,000.
Applejack seethed, preparing her breath.
Come, Rainbow Dash, come back to...
She knelt down and straight into Rainbow Dash's embrace. Fluttershy's wings drooped as she witnessed Rainbow smothering Applejack in the mother of all smooches. Blue feathers stretched into the far corners of the bed as she returned the farm mare's gesture, passionately and desperately, breaking every now and then to breathe and crack forth,
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, yes, Applejack, yes, I've waited so long for this moment. All this time, I knew you felt the same. Make love to me right here in the sea of freckles. I knew it,
She stopped suddenly, her every muscle freezing. A pin drop would have been a mercy kill right about then. Rainbow Dash blinked, her wings drooping slowly, like melting ice sculptures on either side of her. She glanced at Fluttershy, at the drool stain on the bed, and then at the endless scowl on Applejack's frowning face.
This isn't a dream, is it?
Applejack's freckles dissolved in a sea of red.
No, it most certainly ain't.
Rainbow Dash looked at a mortified Fluttershy. She looked at the sunlight.
I gotta go.
She shoved Applejack off, spread her wings, and dove out of the window.
I've got things to do, like right now.
No, Rainbow Dash!
Fluttershy shouted, waving her hoof desperately.
Don't! You have no tail balance!
Oh, crud.
Was all that could be heard outside, followed by a horrendous crashing sound. Tree branches fell, chickens clucked, and perhaps a cat may have shrieked in the middle of it all. Once the thunder had settled, a raspy voice squeaked forth on the edge of vomiting.
I can't feel my wings.
Applejack?
Fluttershy gulped and looked forlornly at her.
She can't feel her wings.
Oh.
Applejack face-hoofed, sighed, and trudged out the door, still carrying a scarlet blush over her rigid features.
And just whose place is she gonna have to crash at while getting better? As if we didn't already know.
Do you need some help?
Nothing to it, Fluttershy. Reckon you ain't fit for chopping a Pegasus head off.
Fluttershy shuddered. Standing alone in the room, however, she was confronted with a startling thought. Gasping wide, she galloped out of the room and exited the house opposite of where Applejack was going to tend to a broken Rainbow Dash. Fluttershy scampered outside to the front of the barn. She skidded to a stop, panting, glancing every which way.
Oh no!
She cried.
It's gone!
Indeed, the soil before the barn door was blank. There was no sign of the prismatic band to be found anywhere. It wasn't under the wagon, by the feeding troughs, or the wooden fence.
But
Fluttershy gazed beyond an invisible camera pony, her aquamarine eyes quivering softly.
who would be so devilish and so cruel to steal Rainbow Dash's tail?
Cutie
Mark Crusader Tailbiters!
The trio of young, blank-flanked fillies shouted within the bowels of their tree fort. They gazed with sparkling, bedazzled eyes at the prismatic rope of fibery goodness dangling within their combined grip.
We're in Equestria to get this, Apple Bloom!
Sweetie Belle exclaimed.
Where do y'all think?
Apple Bloom grinned wickedly.
The one and only source.
Did you hear that, Scootaloo?
Scootaloo's eyes were watering.
It's so fruity.
I reckon if this here tail can come off of an adult pony, then it sure as heck can help us to put a cutie mark on a kid pony.
That's so smart. I almost wish I thought of it.
All we gotta do is practice this, and next thing you'll know, we'll be biting tails off Ponyville like Applejack. Now there's a talent.
It's just like my big sis always says.
Sweetie Belle grinned wide.
The surest way to success is through your mouth.
You get that end, Sweetie Belle.
Apple Bloom pointed.
And I'll get that end. Let's see whose teeth is the strongest.
Mine is.
Nuh-uh.
Yaha!
Nuh-uh.
Yaha!
Growling, Sweetie Belle and Apple Bloom bit into opposite ends of the rainbow tail like enraged puppies. They engaged in a vicious tug-of-war that put their teeth to the test, stretching the spectral fibers toward both corners of the treehouse. In the center, a blushing Scootaloo was lovingly nuzzling the fine silken lengths of the rainbow.
This is the happiest day of my life.